Good evening, viewers. You are welcome to the Diasporan TV Switzerland. Tonight, we will be talking about the role of the church and HIV and the support for HIV positive people. Just at my extreme left is Cynthia Fregene, who happens to be working with HIV in Bern. And then after her is Pumzile Mabizela from KZN, South Africa. And she's actually a reverend minister and a gender and HIV awareness activist. I have here with me Apostle Charles Ibikwe from Christ Covenant Ministry in Biel, Switzerland. And these guests are actually all people who are more into the pandemic of HIV and AIDS, and we are going to talk about some of the preventive measures or some of the activities that their institutions have been rendering to people living with HIV. But before then, I will start with Reverend Pumzile to tell us what her unit has been doing so far.
Thank you very much, Philip. I come from an organization called INERELA. INERELA stands for International Network of Religious Leaders Living with or Personally Affected by HIV and AIDS. And I also am a reverend who's openly living with HIV. The network has country networks all over Africa, because it was started as an African network, and then after some time, it developed into an international network. So we have about 18 African networks, and we have about 5 offices outside of the continent. And our core business, it's the eradication of HIV and AIDS related stigma. We have realized now, with all the research that has been done, all the evidence that we have, that HIV is a manageable condition. But our real problem is the stigma, because people are scared of being tested. There's this fear of being discriminated against or being rejected. So in our work, we train religious leaders and help them to spread messages of hope and life. We know for a fact that for a very long time, the church had very judgmental messages, and I mean, they responded to HIV in very destructive ways, like saying that HIV is punishment from God. But today, we are able to say that HIV is a virus, and it's a manageable virus, and the church is supposed to be involved in supporting people and making sure that people are tested on time, and those who have been tested are supported so that they can take their medication.
Okay, before I go to the other panelists, I want to quickly ask you, as a reverend minister, how did you feel when you found out you are HIV positive? What actually informed your decision to actually come out and let people know that, yes, I am HIV positive, I am living my life, and it doesn't stop me from living? How did you go about that?
Yeah, that's an important question, because it's not an easy decision.
Okay.
When you choose to disclose, you have to be ready to deal with the consequences, because people respond in different ways. Some people may judge you, some people may say you've been immoral, some people think that you were promiscuous. But what informed my decision was, one, the fact that I was already working in the HIV and AIDS sector, so I was informed. When I was diagnosed in 1999, the first few weeks, I was devastated, and I was angry with God as well. But after some time, I realized that there must be a reason why I have the virus. And God has opened doors for me to warn other people and also support them so that they can live positively. So the decision was also, I didn't want to live in fear. Because people who live in fear of being discovered, they actually lose their lives from that fear of when will people find out, and you're constantly worrying about how your family will respond, how the church will respond. So I made a conscious decision that I'm going to be open about it, and if people want to reject me, it's their problem, it's their loss. So, yeah, that's what informed my decision to disclose my status. But it took some time. I did not do it immediately. I think I started slowly after a year disclosing my status to different people and different groups, different audiences.
Okay. Let me quickly come to you, Cynthia. As also an activist working with AIDS Healthy Ben, what has been your approach whenever you want to speak to people?
First and foremost, I'm already known.
Okay.
I've been doing the work for close to 15 years. So
Okay.
if I go to a place, even when I'm not working, when I don't intend to work, I'm already approached by people. Do you have condom? Did you come with condom? I'm called Madam Condom.
Okay.
So it makes my job very easy because already, I mean, very few people don't know me, and those that know me already introduce me to the next person.
Okay.
So for me, it's a very easy thing, and it's something I do from the heart because I got into this job because I lost a very close friend. We were in secondary school together, and when she was diagnosed with HIV, I was really touched. And of course, then we were believing in God, and she was praying about it. She never went for medication or therapy. She never took anything. Instead, she joined the Bible school and went to Bible college, believing that she was going to be cured. I mean, I had zero knowledge also then. We were all believing God for her. She was fasting, and until it became fully blown and she died. It was after she died that I was really touched. I was like, what is this HIV thing? What is it about? And then I started doing my self-survey, you know, going to conferences, seminars. That's how I came across my boss who saw me and was like, wow, I see you in every seminar of this HIV thing. What's about it for you? And I was like, I lost a very dear friend, and for me, it's something I'm now interested to save lives. Okay. So it's something I do with passion until today. So when I go to talk to people, I'm talking to people from the heart. Because presently I have a couple of friends, family that are also infected, and I know about it, but I'm not allowed to talk about it. And so it's still the fear of stigmatization, so I help them. And for me, I go around helping everybody.
Again, let me go to Reverend Apostle Charles, because you made mention of God and your friend going to church and all that. Apostle Charles, I want to ask you this. Yeah. Within the framework of the church, yeah, what is the approach of dealing with sexuality and HIV in the core of the church?
Actually, when you come in terms of that, that's where you see the ability of faith working in the life of individual. Because when you are sick or when you are a victim, it's not all about the medication. It is all about you, personality of you. Because if you, like, for example, I have somebody already in our church. She has been diagnosed that she has an HIV. She's from Ivory Coast. Actually, she had a spouse, but the spouse left her because she has this symptom. And she came to me. The way she was so sad. She was afraid, and she felt that nobody is rejecting her. Actually, then I have to bring her close to minister to her, give her a good counsel. And at the same time, I begin to develop her faith to make her to know that this you have, even though everybody rejects you, God never rejects you. Actually, trying to build her mindset to change it, that if the spouse left her, that she can also continue her living without being afraid. You see, first of all, I removed the atmosphere of fear, okay, to build her that God can do what no man can do. Actually, the medication is there because you can take a medication, but if you don't take it with your belief that it can work, it can never work. Okay. Because that is also the area that churches are not really being active. But when you are active, you can interact with your followers to address them the reality of life, because life is spiritual. You see, when you are diagnosed by HIV positive and this comes to you, first of all, the awareness of it, okay, can make the person to be rejected or to be accepted. So like this lady, I accepted her while she was rejected. She was crying. She didn't know what she have to do. Actually, because she wants someone to give her, to encourage her, or also to direct her what to do. In this process, after praying with her, I told her, you know what, do you believe in miracle? She said she believes. I said, because miracle is not activated by men, but this is another dimension of healing. Because you can be, the medication is good, but you have to believe that with God, all things are possible. Do you know what? For my surprise, Linda, she went to the clinic in Bill, to the highest hospital there. She made a test in this, but the test that she did in Africa that put her that she is diagnosed by HIV positive. She did the same test here, and she found out that she's negative. Do you understand this? Because of what? Within herself, she has to build something very relevant to continue her living. But if she comes to me as a pastor, then I cut her lifetime short, bringing more fear in terms of this. She will lose hope, she will be discriminated, and she can also commit suicide, because a lot of people have committed suicide because of rejection.
Okay. Let me quickly come to Reverend Pumzile. Let me put that there, Reverend Pumzile.
Yeah.
In terms of Apostle was saying something with faith and everything. Do you agree? Because I tend to believe that the doctrination of the church and the pandemic of HIV kind of have a weighing on each other, because most people are actually suffering because of the way the church is actually treating the awareness campaign and the way the church is moving the agenda of HIV and AIDS. So I want to ask you, as a reverend minister, do you also agree to what Apostle Charles is saying about faith, and you can get tested, and you can get tested and it's positive, it can get tested, it's negative and all that? What's your take on that?
Before I respond to that question, I think I would like to say something about stigma. The network that I work for, it was established in 2002.
Okay.
And one of the things we identified very early is that we have 6 evils that we are dealing with in our responses to HIV and AIDS. It's stigma, it is shame, it's discrimination, it's denial, it's inaction, and misaction. And we have found that there are lots of pastors who mislead people, and they tell them to stop taking their medication because they will be healed. And that is very dangerous, because medication is a gift from God. I believe it's God who gives the scientists the wisdom to come up with the medication. Therefore, our faith should be accompanied by wisdom, where we make choices that will prolong our lives. So we should be encouraging people to take their medication, and they should continue believing in God, a God of miracles. Now, I'm not sure about the cases where people were tested positive and negative. But of course, we serve a God of mysteries, a God of miracles. But I know that there are people who have lost their lives because they were told by their pastors that you are now healed, you don't have to take your medication, and then their lives deteriorate and they die. And we have a moral obligation as the church to tell people the truth and refer them to health centers that will give them the tools that they need to prolong their lives. On the issue of sexuality, it is very sad that when we became aware of HIV, it was very much linked to sex and morality. And that is why the faith community responded in a very negative way. But sex is nothing, there's nothing negative about sex. Sexuality is a gift from God. All we need to be teaching people is to be responsible and embrace and celebrate this gift in a responsible way. But what we are doing in the church, unfortunately, is we have demonized sexuality. Whilst it's something beautiful, you and I would not be here today if there wasn't sex.
That's right.
But we don't want to talk about it. We are spiritual beings, we are sexual beings, we are physical and psychological beings. Why is it easy for us to talk about all the other aspects and neglect our sexuality? And that makes us vulnerable. So people are dying because we are not talking about sexuality openly. 2, we are not talking about the different modes of transmission so that people can protect themselves. I know that the church struggles with condoms as well, but a condom is a tool. As a person who's living with HIV, I was married for a very long time, and in order to protect myself and my partner, we had to use condoms. Okay. So I think sometimes it's a bit irresponsible for pastors to just say, no, condoms are only used by people who are promiscuous. It's not always the case.
Okay, Cynthia, I think I want to ask you this. Being somebody running an activist program here in Switzerland and in Nigeria, I want to ask you concerning the stigma of taboos and all those things and sexuality and everything. How different or how similar are they?
Taboo in Switzerland is the same thing like in Africa.
Okay.
Because it's the community I work with that I'll talk about.
Okay.
You know, I can't talk about any other person. It's still the same thing because we're still Africans. Even if we sit in the plane and come here, we still remain Africans.
Yeah.
Okay.
And most of us still mix only with Africans. So it's like if you're in your African community, it's still the same feelings of if somebody knows about my status, will I be exempted from you know, parties and events, and will nobody come to my house anymore? Because they might think when they come and sit on my couch, they will get positive also from just sitting. They'll contact, they contract the virus. A lot of people have, I mean, most times when we do the teaching about how you contract this virus, you'll be shocked how people think from a glass of water you can contract it, you know? Some people think just by shaking hands you can contract the virus. They don't even have the knowledge to know that it's through either sexual intercourse, blood transfusion, breastfeeding, you know, or anal sex, you know. They have no knowledge, and because of these things, we carry out courses. HCFABN gives out these free courses, you know, to people so that you can get this knowledge to know how you can actually be, you know, you can transmit this disease from one person to another. That aside, I would say also stigmatization, it's a universal thing. Even among the Swiss people, there are still people with the mentality of, ooh, this person is sick, I have to be careful. Even if they know that the person is, this sickness is not contagious by talking to somebody or hugging or shaking them, they're still a little bit, you know, reserved and keep their distance a little bit. So let's go away from stigmatization. Taboo. I don't think the Africans will get out of the taboo of talking about sex. Like you say, we make it such an immoral thing, and it's what we all do every day.
But you know what's interesting is, in traditional Africa, we had structures where we talked about sex openly. So young women were sent to older women, and they would be taught what sex was and how to behave, and it was the same with men. But when Christianity came, or all the other faiths, they destroyed these structures.
I think if I'm not mistaken, we used to have puberty rights
Exactly.
where these young girls were being taught, they go through the puberty stages and everything.
Yeah.
But I think it's no more. Like you
so
don't see them anymore.
the challenge for the church is developing alternatives.
Okay.
Yeah, where we will be talking about these issues from a faith perspective. But what's happening at the moment is we are silent. Okay. The families are not talking about it. The structures are destroyed. The church or the faith community is not saying anything. So there's a lot of misinformation out there on sex and sexuality and its link to HIV.
Okay.
And I would like to talk about what Apostle Charles talked about, getting tested in Africa and then coming to church, you prayed for, and then you go test, and then you're negative. There are different possibilities, I would say. I'm a Christian, but I'm a practical Christian. That is to say, I believe in reality. I'm a realist. First, there's a possibility that either the test that was conducted in Africa was wrong. That is to say, they gave the person a wrong result. Secondly, it could be that the virus is no more visible.
Undetectable.
Undetectable, but it's still there.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. So, and then there's this miraculous possibility of being healed, which I don't believe in, I'm sorry. Because I've been a living witness, I'm a living witness to several people who have died from just having faith of being healed and not taking their medication. So I would strongly stand by her that she says the medication is from God, you know. You should take your medication and then you believe that you'll be healed, then you're healed.
I want to come to Apostle.
Yes,
being
please.
somebody who is so spiritually inclined to faith and to miracles and everything. I want you to give me a vivid clarification. Do you think the church is doing is actually morally doing right by people living by HIV, telling them to believe in faith than to believe in taking their systematic medicinal approach to keeping themselves healthy?
when it comes in the woman's systems. And this woman, she has only a word in herself. That's why I came in to say that I talked to this lady to transform her minds, to remove her minds from fear, and to develop with faith. You see, medication is there. I'm not against the medication. I advise people. But it is the matter of you, because you are a spirit, but you live in the body. You have a soul. This is a three function of you. You are a body, you are a soul, you are a spirit. So that's why I said God is a spirit. Believing in miracle. Miracle is what? It's our evidence to prove who we are. So if the church is against the medications, I'm not like involved or say church shouldn't be. You understand? But it depends on whom, on how you see it. Like me, myself, I advise people.
Apostle Charles, I think I have to put you on the line on this. I want to ask you directly. So you believe, because I think scientifically it has been proven that so far there is no cure for HIV.
Yeah.
To be HIV positive, there's no cure.
No cure.
So I want to ask you, do you believe with faith that people or somebody can be cured
Without the medication?
without the medication?
That's what I'm saying. Like this lady, she was diagnosed in her country, and she has a husband to marry her. She herself did what? Told the husband, and the husband rejected her. But someone sent her to me. So I have to counsel her, prayed for her, developed her faith, to have faith in God. She had the medications. I told her, go back to the hospital. Go and make a test. She did the test and it was negative. She gave the testimony, and it was another dimension of believing in what God can do. So I believe that God is a God of miracle. God can do something that man cannot do. You understand what I'm saying? So I believe that miracle exists and the healing exists. So I'm not against of the people going through the treatment. Do you understand my point? I'm not against people going through the treatment, because I'm not an opposition to the people's of choices. You see, because when your faith is there, miracle is at work.
Yeah, I cannot dispute the power of faith.
Exactly.
I also cannot dispute God's power. God performs miracles in different ways. What I am against is when religious leaders mislead people.
Okay.
So if there are real cases where people were positive and then they are tested negative, we thank God for that.
Exactly.
But reality is, we have to say to people, follow the instructions that are given to you by health professionals. One thing that I struggle with is that the pastors who are against medication, they take their medication for high blood pressure. They take their medication for diabetes. They take medication when they have headaches. But they have something negative, this negative attitude towards ARVs. And I think it's ignorance, you know. It's because people do not know exactly what these ARVs are and how they work in the body and how they actually suppress the virus so that people like me can live for a very long time. So the work we do is we have conversations with pastors and we say, when you present a sermon, we want to glorify God. We want people to know that we have resources that God has made available to us so that you can live for a very long time.
Okay. Let me come to you, Cynthia. What I want to know from you is, with a social initiative from your organization, like Multicolor or Multicolory, with a Multicolory, I want to know what has been some of the initiatives within your organization and the churches to try to bring down the issue of stigmatization and all that.
First, we work with the church by attending the service. I personally go to churches and I attend the service, because if you don't attend the service, the pastors are not happy.
Yeah.
They think you come intrude and throw your condoms or flyers and you walk away. So the tactics I use is I get familiar with the pastors, which I basically am familiar with most of the pastors here in Bern. And then after service, I go one-on-one with people. and we have conversations. And most times, like I said, because I'm known, it's very easy. You know, the people come to me and they think, oh, do you have condoms with you? And then I can talk one-to-one with people and ask, you know, what's your sexual life? What are you doing about it? Have you got tested? And are you interested to know more about HIV? What today the update of HIV? Because every year there's something new. People have no knowledge of, you know, people just know HIV is contagious, and they think that's all about it. I know everything about it. No, the rate of the virus differs between the young and the old, and the homosexuals also are there. We shouldn't forget them. And, you know, the lesbians are there. We shouldn't forget them. And people forget about a lot of things about HIV. And because it is not spoken about in church, generally sex is not spoken about in church. It's like a taboo. You know, I find it really depressing, like she said, that they make it a very immoral thing to talk about sex in the church. And so when people like me go to church to talk about sex, you see people being shy, you know. They're like, and they're like, they can't believe that you're coming to the church to talk about it. And I'm like, I'm not standing on the pulpit. I have no right to go on the pulpit, but I mean, I can get one-on-one with somebody, and they can really tell me their heart. Some people will tell you, yes, you know, I've had sex several times without condom. I have no knowledge about what I should do, because now I don't know my status, if I'm positive or not, and I'm afraid to go and do a test, which is normally the thing about fear, you know. And then they say it's better. Somebody once told me, I thought somebody will die one day, so either I'm dying from HIV or whatever, but I will still die. But sex is something I cannot stop. I have to enjoy myself while I'm alive. And I'm thinking, hello, you could cut your life short by that 1 minute mistake, you know. Because another thing that we do as individuals, I'm not going to say black or white, but individuals as persons, is that we think it's written on the head. If I'm HIV positive, there's a way I'm supposed to look. And as long as I'm not looking that way, I'm negative. And so we have the quickie, and then the next day maybe I'm feeling some cough or something, and I'm suspecting, could I be HIV positive? But what could have been done would have been before you have sex.
Don't you think the distribution of these condoms is actually promoting sex instead of trying to tell people to rather abstain or to stick to one partner and all that, all these do's and don'ts of HIV and AIDS and all that? We all understand HIV is not only through sex,
exactly.
but we have made it to seem that it's through sex. And don't you think distributing condoms vilifies the issue to say that prevalently HIV is sex?
Let me take
that we actually endorse it.
Let me take one question after the other. Okay. First, about distribution of condoms. I've gotten feedback. People have gone to my office to report me by telephone call and say, she makes our husbands promiscuous. Because of Cynthia, they can have free sex because they have condoms. No, that's not the idea. The idea is at that moment, we call it the heat of the moment, where you see a lady and you're like, and you've taken a little bit of alcohol or so, and you are really like turned on, or the lady is feeling really horny, and she just needs a man. We cannot prevent them from doing what they have to do, but we can give them condom. And then when they have this in hand, it can save a soul.
Okay.
So I'm not saying because I want you to have sex, you should go use a condom. I'm not saying it's only through sex you can contact HIV. I am saying when you are in that moment where you cannot help yourself, get a condom. So that you can still do what you will do anyways, but this time you will do it and protect yourself and protect the person you're having sex with.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think what we forget as well is that married people also use condoms. There are women who cannot use contraceptives because contraceptives make them sick, and those couples use condoms as well. So a condom can save lives. Sex has been commercialized. Sex has lost its value. And we as the church need to continue telling people to be responsible. And we need to say to people, if you have a relationship with God, you learn ways of celebrating your sexuality in a more responsible way. So it's not the condoms that are to blame. Blame the media, blame the internet, blame the social networks, because that's where sex has been commercialized and it has lost its value. Now, I wanted to come back to just one miracle. For me, the verse in Psalm 118, verse 17 and 18, that's my mantra. I shall not die but live and declare the works of the Lord. When I tell people that I've been living with HIV for 17 years, they look at me and they think, this one, she's lying to us. because of the way I look. I believe in God, and God is using this person who has HIV to change other people's lives. So the myths that we have on HIV, thinking that someone who's living with HIV will look very thin, or they will look very sad, they will look very sad. We need to dispel all those myths. And the best place to do it is in the faith community, in the church, because people go there every week. So, and we should be teaching them how to respond to these issues that affect them. The pastor has just said something very important that is lacking in our churches: compassion. Lots of women are raped. So it's not a choice. They are raped by people that they do not even know, and they end up living with HIV. They go to church, the church rejects them. So how does that person understand God's love? And how does that person think about the concept of compassion if it's not there in the church? So that's very, you know, Jesus said the greatest commandment of them all, you love God with all your heart, with all your mind. And the second one is loving your neighbor. If we can't do that within our faith communities, then we have failed the gospel.
Within the frame of the core of your church,
Yes.
do you have, within the church, do you have institutions that actually take care of people who are actually having these problems? Why I'm asking this is,
Yes.
I understand there are people, even when they find out that you have, you guys had sex in the church or anything of that sort, you cannot even sit in the front seat of the church anymore. You are cast to the back seat of the church. I want to understand, within the core of your church,
Yes.
specifically your church, do you have entities that actually deals with these issues separately than trying to shove these people into public eye and shame them like other churches do by saying you have shamed yourself, so you cannot sit here, and then you would have to sit by the gate to worship with us and all that? I just want to know, within the code, do your church bring these people out for people to know the
No, if you do that, that means you are bringing a judgment upon humanity. You see, because what I do when it comes in that terms is to first of all give a powerful and foundation counsel to the people. Like you counsel marriages, you counsel couples that want to get married. But you can't, if you bring the people outside in order to notify it to the other people, it's a taboo. According to what we have been talking before, it's not good. It's not good. That means you are not showing love. That means you are showing rejection. And also that means you are even destroying them the more, because as soon as they leave, they will commit more that you can see.
Reverend Public, can you add something to that?
It can be done in a positive way. Faith communities can have support groups where people can share experiences and support each other.
Yes.
The reason why we have so much stigma, especially in the developed countries, is because nobody is talking about HIV anymore. You have medication, it becomes your own problem. I still need spiritual support. I take my medication on a daily basis, religiously. I have a strong relationship with God, but I still need spiritual support. So the stigma will only be broken if we in the church create safe spaces for people who are living with HIV to come together and openly share their experiences and support each other. That is very important. That's one strategy that can be used by the faith community to break down the pillars of stigma. Also, in our sermons, I believe that when we teach the Word of God, we should be giving people tools that they can use to live lives of faith or lives that emulate the life of Christ. The fact that we claim to be Christians, it means we are followers of Christ. But we can only do that if the pastor from the pulpit talks about my problem of drinking too much. My pastor talks about my problem of not having a partner and feeling ugly. The pastor talks about the fact that I am hungry, I don't have any money. How does the church help me or empower me to have strong faith in God and live a positive life. So I think one of the challenges I have for the pastors, I'm meeting more pastors tomorrow, is I'm going to say to them, create safe spaces for people so that they can share their experiences without any fear of being rejected.
Okay,
I think this is very important. That's what I'm saying. We actually haven't had, except this lady in our community that came to me. So I have already created that avenue that this is very, very welcome by showing her love and talking with her. But also there's other cases which we have other leaders that handle cases in a different directions. But when it comes in terms of something of virus or this is another dimensions which people comes, they share. But also you must understand one thing, in the society we are living today, people criticize others. Even when you speak, people, like what she said, people can laugh at you. But that's where faith works. For you to hold onto your faith and reject the criticisms, reject what people talk about your predicament. Because if not, you can't come out publicly to give a testimony of what you are going through. Like she is in a mission of testimony. That's how I see it. Or, testifying what she is in and how she's developing her daily life. It moving on.
Okay, let me come. For want of time, I think our time is running out very fast.
Can I just say something quickly? What both of you said as pastors, but as part of the audience, I will say the church should be a pillar where people are confident to come out and say their problems. Because when we're talking about HIV, we're just talking of one aspect. The church, they have what they call cell group, where they meet. The church I go to, I don't know if it's every church, where they meet every Tuesdays or Wednesdays or Thursdays. They have Wednesday service, then they have the Sunday service, then they have choir practice, they have usher practice, they have this practice and that practice from different departments. I think it will help the church very much if the church also have a care group where they meet people who have personal problems like infections. Because if we don't talk about infections in church, we kind of make morality a very high thing that we can never, none of us can get up there. Because we think,
Cynthia, I'm sorry to be cutting you.
I have to talk of now how multicolor, multicolor can
just
help.
Quickly.
We are on Facebook.
Okay.
You can go and check us on Facebook. And also, if you have our condom, you'll see our address. It's written there, how you can contact us. And also, we are trying now to go a little bit more on this kind of talk show. We have our telephone number written everywhere when we go for shows. When I give the condoms, it's very important. I also give flyers. And you can also visit our webpage to find out things.
Okay. So let me come to you, my brother in Christ. Your final words to anybody living with HIV. What do you want to say to them?
What exactly I want to say is that they shouldn't lose faith in God. You see, because when you lose faith, you lose the root and you lose the balance. And because the more you have the faith, the more you believe that tomorrow is better than today. You see, and it helps you to advance in life. Because if not, you don't have to keep silence. You have to say it out. Like the lady who comes to me and open up. If not, she has been silenced. By now, she could have been committed suicide, or she could have been rejected forever. But there is opening a door, which I said all the time in the church. The door is open. Whatever situation you are going through, not only about AIDS, also about your private life that you want to share. It's more deeper than this. Also, I want to advise the people that can always confide on the ministers who knows what life is all about. Thank you.
Okay. Reverend Pumzile, your final words as somebody living with HIV and as a reverend minister as well, what would be your final word to anybody who is afraid of stigmatization, who is afraid to come out, who is afraid to even test to know his status within this HIV pandemic? What do you want to say to them?
I think the first thing I want to say is that if you are human, you are vulnerable to HIV. The network of religious leaders living with HIV, we specifically share our stories so that people understand that if you are human, do not ever assume that I am safe because I live in a certain way. Now, the second thing is, let us not accept the stigma that comes from outside. God still loves us, and you can live a very positive and long life continue taking your medication religiously, and help others as well. Because that's another thing we've lost as Africans, this sense of community. When you help another person, it makes you feel better about yourself. So the more you support other people, you also feel stronger. Now, the last thing that I want to say is that the pastors who are misleading people,
Okay.
that's irresponsible and unacceptable. Let us promote messages of hope, messages of love and compassion within the faith communities.
Okay, finally, we come to the end of the program. We would like to say a special thank you to the Diasporan TV crew and cast. We'll say a special thank to 8 Healthy Burn and to Multicolor, and to our guests who made time to be with us. Thank you for sticking with us all through this time. Good night.